Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here with another edition of Oilers Live Tuesday. Later on, at some point, Dash is going to join me, talk a little bit of Oilers hockey. Talk about the Edmonton Oilers, who are playing the Las Vegas Golden Knights, down 2-1. If you checked on Twitter anytime recently, it's like the sky is falling out there. But before we begin, and while we're waiting for Dash to join us, let me talk about the Halifax Mooseheads. I'm wearing their cap tonight. Halifax Mooseheads are in the Gilles Courteau Cup, formerly the President's Cup, in the Q. And they'll be playing Patrick Roy's team, the Quebec Ramparts. And that game, that starts on this Friday for the best of 7 for the Q Championship. The Mooseheads had a great season, record-setting season for Dumais on the team, and the Mooseheads have really done well this year. They started out, they played Sherbrooke in the last series, in the semifinal series. The first 2 games, which I was at, the Mooseheads really, didn't look like they were going to last much longer. I actually thought they might get swept by Sherbrooke. They came in and they won 4 straight. So they start this Friday versus the Quebec Ramparts in the Q. Should be an exciting season. Nashville Predators will want to watch. Nashville Predators fans will want to watch LaRue, who's had a pretty decent playoff so far. I've got some people tuning in on YouTube, and I see Dash is just about ready here. We'll get him in right away. But Angel, thanks for tuning in. Renegade Man. Vegas is running out of goalies. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Obviously, goalies are almost always the storyline come NHL playoffs. We'll talk about goalies. Oilers, of course, changing out Skinner for Campbell at some point. And there's Angel saying they both need goalies, which may or may not be true, but we'll get your opinion on that tonight, and I'll get Dash's opinion. I'll give you mine. Think Dash is ready to go. Gives me the thumbs up. Let's get Dash online. There we go. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, friend?
Good. So just kind of give a little Q update. Not that anybody out here really cares, although if they're keeping up with the Memorial Cup, we'll see who's going to end up as the participant from the Q soon enough. Game number 1 starts Friday. Been, it's been a hell of a series. This last year, the Mooseheads didn't get very far. Of course, this year they've had a hell of a team. Much like the Oilers, they went. I can't remember. It was over 20 games without losing in regulation during the regular season. The Ramparts are an excellent team as well. There's some really good teams coming out of Quebec and out of the Q. Both teams were Quebec and Halifax were ranked in the CHL top 5 pretty much all second half of the season. So it's some pretty good hockey. And of course, you'll get to see Patrick Roy on the bench here come next Tuesday and Wednesday when they get back to Halifax. I'll be at those games. All right. Let's talk some Oilers hockey. Goalies has already come up. Dash. Big topic, of course, in hockey. We've missed, not missed, but 2 games have passed since we last spoke. In fact, all 3 games, I guess, have passed since we last spoke, right? Mm-hmm. Oilers came out, my recap. Maybe I'll give you kind of my recap and love to hear, how you see it. Oilers came out. I thought a little bit flat in that first game. Vegas seemed to be flying. A lot more just going for them. It seemed on the forecheck everywhere on the ice. And, it was the Vegas team that I think you kind of expect with when Stone's in the lineup. They did really well. Of course, the Oilers, whatever you want to say about them, they just have the best power play that we've ever seen, and so they were able to stay in that first game. I don't think though. I don't think they deserved to be in that first game. And then, of course, second game comes out and they just came out flying. And I think, that first game is all about the first period in my mind, and I think probably in yours and everybody else, and they just never looked back and looked like a team on a mission, much like what I would have expected to see in Game 3. Now, I hate complaining about the officiating, but I hate when it has such an effect on a game like it did in Game 3. Now, I don't think it's I'll always stop short of blaming it on a loss, but it certainly had an effect on the game. And missing that Yamamoto high stick on Yamamoto, which then turned around to be a goal against the Oilers. I mean, those kind of misses, just shouldn't happen in a professional league playoff series. But they do, and it goes on, and you got to play through that. The Oilers, I felt some similarities between Game 1 and Game 3. In fact, where if the Oilers didn't keep momentum and they lost it, Vegas was good at just kind of playing their game. Skinner obviously wasn't great. He wasn't awful. I won't blame him for that, but he wasn't great. And let's, if I had to say, I'd say he hasn't been great whole playoffs, but he's been good enough, right? He just wasn't good enough in my mind in Game 3, and so Campbell comes in. So lots of questions to be said, but I'd love, if I had to put a synopsis on all three games, I'd say, the Oilers deserve to win the game they won and deserve to lose the games they lost. But I wouldn't count them out of this series. I think there's lots of positives to take, and probably one of the biggest ones is I don't think we've seen even the best of Connor McDavid in the playoffs yet. So I'd love to get your thoughts on the first three games of the series.
Game 1 was pretty typical to what I think we've seen a lot of the times with the Oilers when they come out in these series. There was like you said, some flatness in that game. I like what you said when you termed that they, won the games they deserved to win and lost the games they deserved to lose. They probably did deserve to lose Game 1. It was close. The Oilers have lost 7 straight Game 1s and 8 out of the last 9. The last Game 1 they won was in 2017 against Anaheim. Oilers be Oilerin'. Game 2, they come out and show, I think, everybody that cares about hockey anyways, I was going to say on Earth, but in North America, what the Oilers can do and what they're made out of when they've got everything clicking in all cylinders. And it wasn't just the offense in Game 2, it was the defense. They were defending in layers, as Dursa likes to term. It wasn't just the forwards, it was the defense. It was the system was working. They were line matching. All the different layers that you need to do on the defensive end of the puck was synergistic with the offense that they capitalized on, and power play be power playing when it's the Oilers, right? So, what are they up at 13-22 or 14-23 or something that game?
Something
like
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? Game 3 might have been the worst game they've played in this playoffs, maybe in the last 3 months. It was flat as hell. I thought the defense was flat. I thought the forwards were flat. I thought the goaltending was flat. I thought that it just was, it was odd, So, you start to analyze those 3 games a little bit, and well, maybe there's an element of what we always see out of the Oilers, Michael. Like, how many years has it been that they get scored on first? Right? Like, we've had the best record in the NHL of getting scored on first, but still winning hockey games 2 years straight. And why is that? It's in our muscle memory as a team, and that coincides a lot with this Game 1, 7 Game 1s in a row. Maybe it's a crazy theory, but when you've got players like McDavid and like McLeod and like Hyman and, maybe even like Skinner and like these guys they're all really nice guys. They're all timid guys. Like nobody's the raw type A, Messier, Mike Smith kind of guy. Dry's got a bit of that in him, but I think
he's got more than a bit.
Wow, and he's a dirty prick. Like he really is. Let's be honest. And proved it with another couple of two-handers last game.
Yeah.
The thing I wondered, Bud, is, we all knew that kid at the playground that you didn't want to F with, but man, he had to be backed into a corner before he would, jump. And I almost wonder if there's part of like something in the culture or nature of this team needs to be slapped in the face before they'll punch back. And, if that's the first goal of the game, if that's the first game of the series, the Oilers need to get punched in the nose before they get pissed off enough to throw down. And when the Oilers throw down, it's lethal. So here we are, exactly the same way we started the first series, losing game 1, winning game 2, and losing game 3. We finished that one off in 6. I don't see this being a lot different, nor do I think the results will be different. Refs, I don't know. Don't go there. I hate that narrative, Michael, and you know it. It's refs make mistakes. It's the fastest game in the world. They can't see everything at once. It's impossible to. They can't see it in live time. There's 300 infractions that happen in a hockey game. You cannot call all of them, and you cannot predict that one you decide not to call to manage a game. Yes, they manage games. They have to manage games. You cannot call every infraction in a playoff hockey game, or the entire team would be in the penalty box the entire time, and there'd be nobody left to play the game of hockey.
I don't believe that narrative, though, either.
But let me place blame where I think it's also fairly due. Yamamoto does not, in a playoff game, need to take his hand to his mouth, take his glove off, and go, oh, are my teeth still there? Oh, am I bleeding? While the puck is going back the other way. So blame the refs for the unfortunate call if you want, but if Yamo hustles back on his ass and doesn't worry if his teeth are there, they might not score.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, you don't do it, and the refs don't see it sometimes, right? Hey, look, like I said, I'd never blame a loss on the refs, but did they miss, at the wrong possible time? Yeah, they did. And should they get that in a professional league? Yeah, they should.
Yeah, that's a penalty in a hockey game. Yeah, I get it.
And
the Oilers were
I thought, I thought the whistles were put away a little bit. I think if you went back to that LA series, the same thing was done in game 3, if I'm not mistaken. Whether it's game management, whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that's why the Oilers lost. I mean, you don't lose 5-1 because of the officials, right?
Right, exactly.
A lot of reasons you lose 5-1. But hey, it's got to be. They've got to be better. And I hope they will be. Frankly, if there was any conspiracy about the Oilers, we wouldn't have Connor McDavid on our team, right? so that happened. He is, and so is Draisaitl. Maybe some stranger has it best, and that's to say, Dry lost his cool in game 3.
Mm-hmm.
They quit playing, upset with the refs. All of those things are true. I think anybody that's played any sport, when you feel defeated like that, and you let that get to you, then you're bound to lose a game. And they've got to, put that behind them and come out flying. So here, let's switch from that. I think we're, for the most part, in an agreement on how the series went, and it's pretty straightforward when you got 2 5-1 games in there. Maybe the first game is, I think the Oilers 6-4 is maybe a little bit flattering to them. Your thoughts on the goaltending situation, both on the inability to score on Adin Hill, surprise, so far. Granted, it's only been 2 periods,
mm-hmm.
and then the I guess the efficacy or the how good Stuart Skinner has been. Your thoughts, both sides of the coin.
For Hill to really get any type of heralded acclaim for that type of performance should start with the fact that the Oilers did not get pucks to Adin Hill. That there was zero effort to get any type of traffic, any type of effort, any type of shot. It was, I mean, everything he had was from the perimeter. So, that's what you want to do when you got a goalie coming in cold, is shoot from the perimeter and warm them up a little bit. That's exactly what they did. I see an opportunity there. What was the game? 3-1 when he came in?
4-1? No, it was 5-1, wasn't it?
When Hill came in? No, that was pretty early.
Or
I think that ultimately that game's in hand at that point still, the way the Oilers can come back in games, 2-3 goals. What do you do when you've got an opportunity to close a 2-3 goal gap and you've got a goaltender that has barely seen the playoffs and is coming in cold without a warm-up? Like, pepper the piss out of him. Get pucks down there. Get traffic in there. Shit, like Struddy said it. You accidentally fall on the guy. Oops, you got an e-bug for the last 60 minutes of a playoff hockey game. Like, sorry, but...
Yeah, they certainly didn't play. I mean, they didn't play well enough to score on anybody, right?
Nope.
And it doesn't...
I'm not giving Hill any credit.
The other thing is whether you're a believer or not in PDO or anything like that, but let's also be realistic that Draisaitl was not going to maintain his scoring average on shots for the whole playoffs. He's still going to be high by the end of it, but to see him hit a couple posts like he did, he was due. Right.
Buddy, if he capitalizes on either one of those 2 or 3 chances he had in the first 5 minutes of the game or 10 minutes of the game, that's a different story, because that's a 2-0 game or a 2-1 game the other way. Maybe the frustration doesn't get to that point. Maybe Evander Kane doesn't come off the bench, shot out of a cannon at the end of the first and take a stupid penalty. Like, the entire game's mood could shift that way. But before we get into that, you asked me to speak to Skinner as well, like Adin Hill and Skinner. And the other side of it is I don't think Skinner's been terrible. I don't think he's been awesome. What I think he's been is an actual direct linear result of how the team's playing in front of him. When the team in front of him is playing really well, Skinner plays really well. When the team in front of him is playing like shit, Skinner kind of plays like shit. I can't give him a ton of blame on too many of the goals, but maybe he could have had the breakaway, but then Nurse and Fogle don't need to double up their coverage and give up that breakaway either, right? So I don't know. I think Skinner, I'd go back with him and I'd feel confident going back with him.
Yeah. Okay. So here's my thinking on it. So first I'll start with Adin Hill. I'm 100%. They got to get more on this guy, right? Like he, through the course of, by the way, it was 3-1, came in halfway through the first, a little over halfway. We know Brossoit is done for the playoffs. That looks awful. Hate to see that. But Hill's going to be in. Who knows? Maybe we see Quick.
Maybe.
Hard to say, but likely it would be. I would think it'll be Hill, but he ended up with 24 shots against.
Yeah, it doesn't show a lot of confidence in Hill if they don't go back with him, and I don't know why you'd want to give your goalie a lack of confidence when you need.
And he hasn't been scored on yet. I think you ride that until. Yeah, you ride that until it changes. 24 saves is 24 saves. I mean, he played most of the game. Mr. Enigmatic says, give them some credit, boys. Dry hit 2 or 3 posts last night. I'll say that. I thought, given the fact that it was 5-1, I thought the Oilers played a decent third period. I mean, it wasn't stellar, but it was decent. They deserved to lose last night, and Hill wasn't the reason. But I think that to your point, and I didn't hear Strudwick's comments, but to Strudwick's point, they got it. They had to get more on him, and I think, look, I'm not even going to say it, but Hyman needs to be, Hyman, right? Get more in front of the net.
And Anderson
down and dirty.
Yeah.
Some of these guys need to step up a little bit. There was some comment, about Broberg, Ryan. I thought Derek Ryan, since he, came back, and I said that in the playoff preview, he's just the kind of player I think he makes a difference out there. Love
Broberg and Kulak. That was a really good pairing.
Yeah. So, it was Fogle. Nice to see him get on the board. Lots of things change. The challenge that this, I think the Oilers have had, is just getting too emotional about certain changes in the game, right? Like, we talk about whether if they had scored, how it would have been a game changer. It's like, this big roller coaster ride with them. They score in the first game, and then Vegas comes back and scores right away.
Yeah.
And it just seems to deflate the whole team for just long enough to take them out of the game. The same could be said about last night. You get the non-call, and then it deflates the team, and they seem to focus on that. Dry gets a little bit chippy. Look, it is what it is. They just didn't play well enough to score on Hill, and so they're making him look a little bit better than he is at this point. As far as Skinner's concerned, our friend Angel there messaged me during the middle of the game and asked if he might have messaged you too. Asked if I thought they should throw Skinner or Campbell in net for the next game, and the answer is no. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that Skinner's the guy that will be this is not some. It's definitely not going to be some Hall of Fame performance from him. It's just going to be, it's just going to be Skinner doing what Skinner does, and he's positionally he's a very sound goalie, and the save percentage I don't think is reflective of how good of a goalie he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when the Oilers give up high danger chances, like they are high danger chances, right? Like they're the sheer definition of the word. And so, if you're a goalie like Skinner, you're either going to make some lights out saves to affect that. And he's just not that guy. He's just a positionally sound guy that'll be in the spot where you need him if you're playing the right style of play. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, when you get down 3-1 and you get to this point where you're deflated like they were, that you would have hoped that after that goal got called back, which by the way, am I ever happy it did, because the first thing and Friedman mentioned it was the McDavid goal. That's the first thing that I went to in my head was when that goal was called back against McDavid when he went through the net. It was identical, and they called McDavid for interference. I can't remember who actually scored the goal, but last night I thought it was identical. So it was good. The league is consistent, So toss out the conspiracy theories again. The league called back a goal, but then Vegas comes back and scores anyway on what was a gimme, maybe their easiest goal of the playoffs. 10 seconds later, you have a chance to get some momentum back and get into the game, and then you just kind of, I don't know, call it in. It was the whole game was just a series of woe is me for this team. And the great thing though about this Oilers team is, I said this after game one, they didn't hate Vegas enough. They'll come back. I believe this team has it in them to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't want to be down 2-1, but before everybody thinks that the sky is falling, we need to take Skinner out and put Campbell in. Remember that the Oilers didn't have a home game advantage. You expect to win your home games, so they'd be down 2-1 either way. And so
the Oilers in Vegas are two of the best road teams in the NHL this
year. There's that too, but they should be all right. We've got the two best players in the world on the team, Draisaitl, you know, these guys never get shut out for 2 games in a row. I just can't see them coming out and laying out a dud.
Oh yeah, my money's on Oilers puck line tomorrow night. There's no doubt. I don't think
100%.
Yeah.
So I feel good about their chances. I think I think 2 things. I think they played shitty last game. You're right. Probably the worst game they've played. They'll come back. The only question I have is I don't think Desharnais has had a good shift all playoffs. Like he's maybe had a good shift. But he's been pretty bad.
I was at games 1 and 2 of the first series, and I was enamored with him because of how many spears and flashes, and he's not even cross-checking. He's just like literally stabbing people with his stick like it's a weapon.
I don't want to I'm not the run the guy out of town guy, but he's been pretty bad. He's playing limited minutes, so I'll give him a bit of a break there.
Yeah.
But I get a little bit scared every time I see him on the ice, and my guess is it's 110% nerves. Like we've seen him in the regular season. He's got the talent. He's a rookie. He's an older rookie, but he's still a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
But having said all that, I would not mind them, especially given the fact that we've had some challenges keeping the forwards healthy in game. I wouldn't be against them taking Desharnais out and putting Holloway in and going 12-6 for the game. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be able to. I don't know. I think if
so, I say that, and I don't think they will. By the way,
yeah,
like I just don't. I can't see what he do.
If Hyman is hurt and there's other injuries where guys can't play up front, then I can't see them moving away from Desharnais and bringing in Holloway and bringing in Shore. I know a lot of people are clamoring for Desharnais.
Like you're thinking Hyman's anymore, but
be out of the lineup. Problem with taking Desharnais out of the lineup is that he's a really good penalty killer, and that's what I was going to say when you said he hasn't had a good shift these playoffs. He's really vital to our penalty kill. He's long. He's takes up a ton of space. He's nasty. You barely get penalties when you're on the penalty kill, and he takes advantage of it with that weapon. He's out of the lineup, and then who takes that spot on the penalty kill? Broberg? That's not good. So I don't know. I think you stick with the lineup that has got you to where you are. Desharnais's been in every game, and we're in a good spot. It's just fine. Like we were down 2-1 last series, and then we swept the rest of the series. If we're talking again next week and we said it was Oilers in 6, are you going to be surprised? I won't.
No, I'm not. Not worried about it. I just, I look at this team, especially in this series, right? When you had Janmark go down in game 1, right? Now you're playing 10-7.
Yeah.
Right. You had Hyman last game who was clearly injured at some point during the game. And I haven't heard. Did you hear he's not playing?
Are you kidding me? Yeah. Unless you're sleeping under Woodcroft's bed, I don't think anybody's going to get that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, my guess is, given the way he finished the game, he's going to be playing. If he's so drugged up that he doesn't remember his own name.
I mean, guys play with punctured lungs and broken jaws, and I don't imagine whatever. If he could finish the game, then he's likely back next game. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we go forward with the exact same lineup that we had last game. Honestly,
no, I say that like the Desharnais Holloway thing, but knowing or having watched Woodcroft and what he's done, and it's not like he's limited Desharnais' minutes.
Because Desharnais brings more to the table than just closing gaps and making poor pinches lately. He contributes on the penalty kill. When you're on the ice and there's a guy on the ice surface with you, maybe you don't understand this, Michael, because you're 6'6", but I'm 5'10". And when I'm on the ice with guys like you, I can play like I'm 6'2". You know what I mean? And I think when Desharnais out there, the rest of those guys feel like they can play an inch taller and they can throw an extra hit, or that they don't have to take any shit in the scrums because Vinny's out there. And I don't know. Those are the intangibles to hockey
Jeez,
that
I
don't
wish
get
the
on a
guys
score
that I
sheet.
play
But
hockey with felt an inch taller every time I play.
we don't
Maybe
need
they do. Maybe they're really just small guys. Yeah. Look, I like Desharnais. Don't get me wrong. I just, he's felt like a little bit of a liability in 5-on-5 play.
He has been, and that's fair to say. That's okay to say. He's also a rookie defenseman getting used to adjusting to the speed of NHL playoffs. This is a guy that in the NCAA wore the C for his shirt in Division One
Yeah,
and
but that
won
shouldn't
Defensive
stop you from
Defenseman of the
taking him
Year
out.
in the NCAA. You don't win Defensive Defenseman of the Year in the NCAA without knowing how to play defense. He's a rookie. He's adjusting.
Absolutely, he knows.
And the
how
only
to
way
play.
you get him to adjust and be there is by playing him. Ultimately, if he wasn't, if there was a better defenseman to play, he'd be playing. Woodcroft wants to win games.
That we don't have.
Woodcroft's not the GM. He doesn't give a shit whether Desharnais is developing. He wants to win the game. He's in there because we can win.
Yeah, we'll see. If it were up to me, I'd take him out and put Holloway in. The way the forwards are getting banged up.
Yeah,
I would like to see one more in there. It's not. I think. Look, you're shorthanded. What? How many penalty kills did they have last
penalty
game?
kill already struggles, man. Like, it's worse without him. It is.
They had four last game. I don't know.
Probably 4 every game.
I just don't think that it, like, if you took the amount of goals that he saves on the penalty kill, like, you think that they take him out of the lineup and it's 2 for 4 for Vegas? Is that what you feel?
The 2 for 4?
Like on the power play. Like, they didn't score on the power play last game. So if you take, and granted, one of those power plays was what, like 40 seconds long.
Yeah.
So if you take those 4 power plays and you take Vinny out of the lineup, you think that it's like the difference of 2 goals?
Probably not.
I mean, on average, like, how much is he saving us on the power play versus what kind of difference is he making 5 versus 5? Of course, he didn't lead to, like, how many goals could you, chalk up to some of his defensive play? Not any of this series, I guess. Every time I watch him.
Who's going to play that side of the penalty kill?
Yeah. Guys do it all the time. What if he gets injured? He was out of the lineup before. What do you do then?
Well, it's just, it's the penalty kill's gotten so much better since we got Bugstad and Vinny and Ekholm involved in it. So,
yeah, Mike, my biggest concern is watching him play 5-on-5. I get a little bit worried every time he's on the ice, and then understanding that the forward group is getting banged up a little bit.
So you'd rather see them play Holloway and go 12-6 than continue to play 11-7 and just adjust to Harney's ice time so that he can still benefit on the penalty kill but minimize his 5-on-5 time?
Well, you'd be taking Desharnais out.
That's what I'm saying. So you'd rather him out of the lineup and have 12-6 with Holloway?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Here's the thing, right? Like, there's always, it's the same thing with, would you start Campbell? I mean, as soon as you make a change like that, especially into this part of the series, you risk something in the series, right? But I might have done it. I might have done it in game 2, right? Or even the first game of the series. I probably would have done it in game 2 personally. But now it's maybe we're 4 games into the series, and if you make a change like that and it affects you.
What happens if you put Campbell in game 2?
I wouldn't put Campbell in.
Well, that's what you just said.
Saying. No, I'm talking about Desharnais.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I would never put Campbell in.
Well, you compared it to it being like the Campbell coming
like
in.
if you change, I'm comparing it to like changing the goalie midway through a series. Like if you make that kind of a change, I just think you're it just has more of a risk of going the wrong way
I
than
agree.
it does
Yeah.
of going the right way.
No, I agree. Yeah, because then you send Skinner to the bench, thinking he's let his team down with a confidence that's wandering, and then Campbell comes in and stinks it up. Well, now you've got a goalie that stunk it up and a goalie whose confidence is shot, and that's not exactly what you wanted of your tandem.
So I wasn't clear, Angel. I'm not talking about Campbell at all. I'm talking about.
I thought you meant
Desharnais.
Campbell too, the way you
Yeah.
worded it, but yeah, I see now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about Desharnais. I mean, maybe the one thing that the big reason why I don't think Woody would change Desharnais on the lineup right now has probably more to do with where we are in the series than the play of Desharnais. Although he continues to give Desharnais more minutes than Broberg. So,
well, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me he trusts him more.
Well, and there's intangibles when he's out there, right? I told you, the team plays bigger around him, and they play more confident, and they play braver.
This is a bigger team, though, all around.
Doesn't matter, man. If you're Ryan McLeod, you love it when Kane and frickin' Ekholm and those guys are on.
McLeod's the one guy that needs to play bigger.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So, you take Desharnais out of the lineup, McLeod's not going to play bigger. I'm saying that.
Well, he's not right now, and Desharnais's in the lineup.
Fair enough. But.
And look, team toughness on this team's not the problem right now.
No,
it's the forecheck. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. Is it's the forecheck on both sides. They're not adjusting to Vegas's forecheck, and they're not forechecking hard enough when Vegas has got the puck. They get those done, and I'd love to see. I mean, if you do talk about team toughness, a couple guys I'd like to see get a little bit more connected, and who knows if it's injury or what it is, but Hyman for sure is one. McLeod's another.
Mm-hmm.
Hyman
wasn't injured, he is now.
What's that?
If Hyman wasn't injured, he is now.
Yeah, I mean he was clearly injured. Probably got something during intermission to stave that off, and will for the remainder of the series.
Yeah, I mean Bouchard too. I think both of their play plummeted after they faced injuries last game. Yeah, I mean, Bouchard got bumped to the third pairing. So
yeah. The Oilers have had a day off, and they'll come back. I think we're both in agreement. They're gonna, they should come back like they always have.
Yep.
Yeah, and look, if they, I love this going around there about the matching up with Dallas.
The Dallas curse. Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas is currently leading in the second, 5-1.
Go Stars.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But, the Oilers do match up well against the Knights, and I don't think that they've used their speed and what was made them successful during the regular season yet against the Knights. I want to see
That's harder to do against the Knights when the Kings are sitting back in a 1-3-1 and waiting for you to come at them in waves. It's different. The Knights are like two armies charging at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a completely different series, not even close. I do think that the Oilers, if they come out flying and they do some of those things you're talking about with Adin Hill, they've got a chance to make this look, completely different than it has. But I do expect Game 4 to be a little bit closer than the games we've seen both ways.
Yeah.
Let's briefly talk about some of the other series, and then call it a night. When we did the playoff preview last week, we talked about all of these. We talked about all the different series coming up. You had Panthers in 7. I took the Leafs in 7. I didn't think there was any way they could possibly be any worse than they've been like in the first round. 3-0 for Florida. Did anybody see that coming?
Yeah.
You think like you had three
I didn't
nothing?
think they get through the first round. I didn't have 3-0 on my bingo
No, I
card
didn't think
'cause I
they
said
get
it
through
would
the
be
first
7
round
games,
either.
but I think that like Dubas keeps getting all this credit for the team he's built and all the pieces he's put in place. And I do like his trade deadline acquisitions. Like Ryan O'Reilly is a fucking beast, and
He is a beast.
there's some Noel Akari and great pieces they put in place. That's awesome, good for you. But I do they have a top pairing defenseman not named Riley? I think they have a top pairing defenseman and 5 other
Yeah,
third
Hall has
pairing
been awful.
defensemen.
McCabe's been
Did
awful.
did Dubas really address the goaltending this offseason? Would you have
No,
been
no.
happy if
Goaltending.
after Smith and Koskinen we ended up with Samsonov and Murray? I wouldn't have been happy.
Here's the thing. Oilers fans love to make fun of Austin Matthews because it's mostly directed as a return fire to
Of course it
Leafs
is.
fans, that are saying he's better than McDavid or better than Draisaitl.
And that McDavid's coming to Toronto.
Yeah, but let's be real. I mean, the one of the challenges with a guy like Austin Matthews is like I've never is there a superstar in the league that is less physical than him, like in terms of like playoff physicality, getting in the scrum after the whistle and
Mitch Marner maybe.
yeah, well, I think Marner's even better than that. Like the Stamkos, if you want to call it a fight, like that's got to be like as a professional hockey player, right? Like that's got to be a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just that you wouldn't even drop the gloves against a guy that like it's not like their third liner was trying to take Matthews out of the game.
Yeah.
Like a Stamkos for Matthews trade is pretty equal, so at least drop him and pretend like you want to be there, be in the fight. Like I did feel I'm glad that the Leafs won a series. We make fun of them all the time, but I'm glad they won a series because if you're a Leafs fan, it's got to be incredibly difficult. But this team, like I'd get angry watching them if I was a fan. I get angry watching them. I'm not even a Leafs fan, and I like watching them lose. But I get angry because you're right. I mean, the fact that I say, is there a player that's less physical in the playoffs than Matthews, and you right away have another Leaf in mind? That should tell you something, right? Like that should tell you something about this team. And and you're right. It's incredibly frustrating that all of this time that Dubas has been hailed as some type of genius when some of this is the fact that you're managing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's where players want to go to die in the league, right? Like they they're going to sign there. You can sign just about any player on the back half of their contract.
Part of me respects Dubas for screaming back at the fans from his press box into Tampa, chirping back. At first, I was like, "What a chump!" Then I'm like, "Nah, you know what? Put myself in his shoes. I'd probably be yelling back too." But
I'm still surprised at 3 games to nothing.
Like,
I mean, that's horrendous.
Yeah,
it's awful.
When Matthews got whatever. People say jumped by Stamkos. I mean, ultimately Matthews threw the first little jab there. What do you think's going to happen in the playoffs when you punch somebody like Stamkos in the face or give him a jab? You don't expect that's going to happen. And what I thought initially, honestly, is it bordered like Alex Semin, the slap fight that he had that one time. It's like what is actually going on here? It's like 2 kindergarten girls here going at it with their ponytails and pigtails.
I mean, we're seeing nudes.
It would have been embarrassing, I think, if I was Austin Matthews. Yeah, but like I hear, looking in the comments, Marner promised to get nasty tomorrow. Really? Like, I can't wait to see the nasty version of Mitch Marner. That doesn't even make sense. That makes about as much sense as Josh Bolton and I entering a hair growing contest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at this point, I'm not going to be surprised if they get swept. But that team needs
all the way.
something, and
Leap all the way.
if Riley can't get it out of them,
Yeah.
There's some serious problems in
Leafs getting
PO.
swept makes me feel all warm in my tum.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Let's not be upset. On the flip side of this, Florida won the President's Trophy last year.
No, that's right.
They're way better than they've been
The
given
record
credit
showed.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're just starting to get rolling. But that brings me to the next series, which is, how is Carolina doing it?
Well, yeah, they don't have any depth scoring, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was the team that was supposed to be out in the first
Without
round.
Svechnikov, nobody's
Right?
going to score, right, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, it was like you had Islanders in 5. I had the Islanders in 7.
24 goals in the last 5 games or 4 games.
I took the dog for a walk today. It was
He came back and they'd
Devils.
scored 3 more goals.
Yeah. It was 1-0 Devils, and by the time I got back, it was 6-1.
Unbelievable.
Who saw this? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't see Florida beating Toronto 3-0, you certainly, come on, you couldn't have seen. I mean, maybe you saw Carolina beating New Jersey. A lot of you when we had the playoff preview, what you had Canes in 7. Most of us had Devils. I had wait a second. What did I have? Yeah, I had Devils in 6.
Okay.
But you had Canes in 7, so you thought it would be a closer series than it's been, even. Outside of the last game, where I don't know, the Devils put up a touchdown and a 2-point convert.
2-point convert, yeah.
Yeah. The
Pick
Canes
the
are
over
solid.
in that series, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Since
I mean,
I just Canes, that just screams over.
Yeah, I never believed it. I never had any belief in the Hurricanes at all, and especially not with the injuries. I just, I just didn't expect them to do as well as they've done.
I picked Canes in 7 because I started to have premonitions. It started early after Puljujarvi got traded there, and people started talking about, oh yeah, watch, they're going to meet in the Stanley Cup final now, and I just hockey.
Has he scored a goal yet?
No,
I don't think he has
no.
he? I quite literally not sure he's going to be in the NHL next year, but he certainly, they're forced to play him this year.
I said that as soon as he was traded, he'll be in the.
Yeah.
Jeff Aid said I was crazy.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'd love for him to do well. I like the kid, but man, I just did not see this team being, as good as they've been. I didn't think Rod Brindamore could coach this team to a Stanley Cup Finals. Like, I thought maybe it was just like, I know he's a good coach, but he's respected in Carolina. They love him out there. I've talked to some of the media folks out there. I figured the way they made the team up and all of that, and then of course the injuries that they had, I really didn't see it happening. Tervainen, Patches, right? Svechnikov. I mean, Ronta was out tonight, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and I mean, that didn't matter, I guess, but look, I just didn't see 3-1. I think I think it'd be silly to bet against them at this point. Which leads us to, I mean, we're going to have the playoff preview after the second round, but my guess is it's going to be Florida and Carolina, and that's going to be a toss-up on that one. We'll talk about it when it's done, but we'll see. Now we've got Dallas and Seattle. It looked early on like maybe Seattle was going to be like a Florida and a Carolina team, just kind of rolling their way. But Dallas is too good.
Mm-hmm.
this goes back to my, little trolling of Leafs fans back, a month or so ago, is the Western Conference isn't getting enough credit for the teams that are playing. Seattle's better than most people are giving them credit for, but Dallas is built really well for the playoffs, and Ettinger, when he's on, is really good. He's obviously had a couple off nights. You took Stars in 6. I took Kraken in 7. I might be more leaning now that assuming the Stars win tonight, I'll be leaning more towards the Stars taking the series. But Seattle, I think, will take them right to to be 6 or 7 for sure. Well, I mean, it's guaranteed to be 6 at a minimum now, but I think if assuming the Stars hold on, I'd probably switch mine around. You still comfortable with Stars in 6, or you think that's going 7?
Yep. Yeah, Stars 6, 7.
Yeah. I mean, that. What's your thoughts on that series? I mean,
well, clearly they're just leading the way for everything the Oilers need to do, and paving the path with the Dallas Stars. So ultimately, Stars in 6 because it's going to be Oilers in 6. Duh.
I mean, this is however you look at it, right? Like, if the Oilers can get it together and get past Vegas, there's a lot of good history between the Oilers and Dallas, right? Fans of the Oilers for a long time will remember when Dallas was always the thorn in our side. And I mean, Jamie Benn's as big an ass as you can get in this league. So that'd be a good rivalry, a good good series to watch. And then if you go to the Eastern Conference, if the Oilers were to get to the finals, they either play Florida, which is Tkachuk and Bennett, 2 guys that Oilers fans should hate, right? And do hate. And if you don't play those 2, you're playing against the team that squashed your last chance at a Stanley Cup and includes a guy that you gave up on, right? So no matter how you look at it, like there's good storylines in this playoffs for the Oilers. So it's their destiny. That's what you're talking about. Puljujarvi, the destiny to play the Oilers in the finals. I think it's the Oilers' destiny. And I won't call what that series would be like if the Oilers get there, but it's been pretty good. Some stranger says Grubauer has been unreal. I mean, he's been probably one of the biggest differences in that Seattle.
I've been following that whole thread in the messages, to be honest. And some stranger started that with goaltending so important in the playoffs. And as soon as he typed that, my brain kind of went, is it anymore? And then, here in the comments, people say, no, it's maybe it's not. And ultimately Grubauer was unreal. I believe so. But how much of that was due to the fact that he was motivated to take out his ex-team that gave up on him?
Yeah, well, and Bobrovsky, like,
but like if goaltending's so important in the NHL, and obviously it has been. Look at you and I did the going back how many 20 some years before a homegrown goalie hadn't won a team a cup. Like it has been important. But looking at the goalies that are left in the playoffs this year, who would have thought it was Antti Ranta and Aiden Hill and Laurent Brossoit and Ilya Samsonov and Stuart Skinner and Sergei Bobrovsky and Kira Schmid.
Yeah, Schmid is
Ottinger, sure, Grubauer, great, whatever. But these are not your poster child goalies or your
there's no Vasilevsky anymore. There's no
or any of the guys from the All-Star game. Well, I guess Skinner, right?
Yeah.
But that list doesn't exactly read like Balfour, Hasek, Brodeur, Waugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just went to the NHL regular season stats. For goals against average, we had Allmark, Gustafsson, Ranta, who's still in, obviously, Swayman, Samsonov, who's still there. Sorokin's out. Ettinger's still in. So, you've got, 1, 2, 3 of the top 10 goalies still in. I guess Frederik Andersen's still in there, but in terms of goals against average, even fewer if you go by save percentage. You got Ettinger and Samsonov. It looks like that's it. 2 out of the top 10 in terms of save percentage are still in the but there's no, none of the usual suspects, right? And I think, a lot of that has to do obviously with who's been kicked out so far, right? Bobrovsky's though has been unreal, right? Like he's, and he has been really good. The difference though is that I think you can't put that all on Bobrovsky. Like the rest of that Florida team has been really good too.
Here's the thing, though. Like you talk about, okay, so who's been the best goaltender in the playoffs? And you're probably going to get the common answer of Bobrovsky, would you? Maybe. And he's 10th in save percentage with a 3.13 goals against average.
Yeah.
He's 3.13 with a 9.09. We're going to call Bob the best goalie in the playoffs, arguably. Frederik Andersen's sporting a 9.30 with a 1.8. The thing is that Brind'Amour stuck to his system of platooning goalies. So Ranta's played 5 games and Andersen's played 5 games, regardless that Ranta's got a 9.07 and a 2.59, rolls them out every second game, seems to work just fine for Carolina. And I just wonder, I'll be very curious at the end of this all, how that plays out, because we've already seen the trend of goaltending tandems grow and grow and grow in the NHL. And the thing is like the goaltending tandem gets you there, right? Like, Vegas going back and forth, the Oilers going back and forth, Carolina going back and forth. A lot of teams do that now. LA went back and forth. Korpisalo, then, right? Back and forth, back and forth. That's the method that got you there. And then all of a sudden you're going to try and rely on guys like Skinner and Korpisalo and whoever to play every single game for the playoffs and keep coming out every single game. And well, that's not the method that got you there. But the only coach in the entire playoffs that stuck to it was Brind'Amour.
Yeah.
He's the only one. And look what's happening over there.
Yeah, I mean, you're onto something. And goal scoring's definitely been up, right? I mean,
copycat league, man. Brind'Amour wins the cup this year. Like, that doesn't happen, knock on wood. Everybody in the league goes into the fucking playoffs with a tandem next year. Mark my words.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Oilers are set up for that tandem.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's worked in our favor. I think Campbell, when he's come in those 2 games, he's, he helped lead to the comeback for the Oilers. He played
36 to 38 saves. He's got a 9.47. He's got the highest save percentage in the entire playoffs outside of Adin Hill.
Yeah, and that's what you need. Whether I'd start him, though, is it is a little bit risky, but you also got a rookie in Skinner, right? So the good thing, though, I think, and you get tandems like that now, and I think goalies are used to this now, but you look at Campbell and you look at Skinner and the way they interact when they're on the bench or when they switch off, they're always cheering for each other. And so I think that if I don't think it would have as poor an effect if they were to start Campbell. Would I do it? No, I still wouldn't do it.
No,
but
neither.
All right. We're at the hour mark.
There it is.
And
you keep promising me you'll stay under.
Yeah. Hour and 1 minute. Of course, you didn't show up till you're 10 minutes late. So
it's true. It's true.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It was good. I keep saying I'm going to try to do these lunch hour shows during the playoffs, and life just keeps catching up to me.
Yeah,
I don't get the chance. But we'll continue to do Tuesday nights at the very least, and when possible, we'll get on during the day. Seems to be lots of storylines going on. My last words, and then I'll pass it off to you, Dash, is just for Oilers fans, and I think I think the folks that listen to my show, I think they get that. I think they feel the same way, which is, the sky's not falling, right? Like
No, we got
if
this.
if you went onto Twitter after last night's game, um, it just felt like Oilers fans were, ready to throw in the towel. But it's 2-1. Game 4 is always, unless if you completely shit the bed, it's the swing game, right?
Yep.
And I just, I believe in McDavid and I believe in Draisaitl. And I'll say this, I might even believe in Draisaitl more than I believe in McDavid when it comes playoff time. And Draisaitl is just mean and nasty enough that he'll will his way to a win.
Yeah. I think he's healthier
right now, too. And he's healthier. So all of those things combined, this team, I just don't think will be held back. And once they get the taste of that second game, it's going to be a long way. Oh, and Jensen and the family home videos, I'll have to see some of those. Yeah, no, I'll definitely have to see some of those. Talked about the draft lottery. Did you watch the draft lottery, by the way, Dash?
No, I didn't watch the lottery.
But did you hear about ESPN's mess up?
Oh, no, I didn't actually.
So they were about to go to break, and Kevin Weeks, Kevin Weeks goes, and with Columbus out, it looks like Bedard will be going to Chicago or Anaheim. Well, they hadn't even announced yet that the 3, 2, and 1 yet, and then they went to commercial, and I'm watching it. I'm like, I don't remember them even saying Columbus was out. And then when they got back, they said, and at 3, it's Columbus. Like,
oh, hilarious! And Kevin Weeks had been removed from the panel and had from the holding area.
Anyway, so they had messed up and released it earlier. And so I'm replaying. I didn't go back. I could have went back and watched, but I'm replaying it in my head and thinking, did I hear that right? I thought Columbus was out, and I'm like, did I just prophesize that in my head? And no, sure enough, I read about it on The Athletic after that they messed up. And it wasn't talked about, but it was kind of funny.
Oh, interesting.
And then there were I saw some Anaheim fans who thought it was, a conspiracy against Anaheim, for Chicago to get the pick. But again,
like Crosby and Bobby Ryan.
Yeah, look, if there was any conspiracy at play, the Oilers would not have Connor McDavid. Let's be honest, right? Edmonton would be all right without Connor McDavid. It would be really sad for us, but there are definitely other cities and teams that probably could have used that uplift for ticket sales more than we could. So no conspiracy against Anaheim. It just is. They've got people in the room that third parties. They do all of that. It's just shitty. Does Chicago deserve it? I don't think they do, but you know what? That's it's a draft lottery. That's the rules of the game, and I'll say this: I'm excited. I watched Connor Bedard live at the World Juniors, multiple games. He's fun to watch. I'm excited to watch him play. That's all. Our good buddy Jeff put a post on Facebook about being tired of hearing about where he should go. And I honestly didn't care. What I do care about is that, the development leagues and that start developing more Connor Bedards, right? Yeah. I want to see, and the skill level's definitely gone up.
I don't think the gap between 1, 2, and 3 is going to be as big as it has in previous years. Like generational talent keeps getting thrown around. it did with McDavid too. But then they're like, "Oh, Eichel's number 2, so he must be a generational talent as well."
Yeah.
Like that was a huge gap between McDavid and Eichel. I don't think it's a big gap like that this year. Like I think Adam Fantilli is a hell of a player. And I
He
think
is. He certainly wasn't as noticeable as Bedard in the World Juniors, but
I think his game translates though.
yeah. And you could 100%. And we'll only time will
Bedard.
tell. But my big thing is I'm excited to watch good players play the game, and nothing gets me happier for the league than to watch superstars play. Like to hear Makar being injured, right? Like that kind of thing. I want to see the best of the best play all the time. I don't like seeing Laurent Brossoit go down. Not that he's the best of the best, but you get it. I mean, you always want to see the best players play, and you don't want to see anybody injured. At least I don't. So I'm happy Bedard's going to get his shot in the league, and hey, our old buddy, the Jones brothers there will get a chance to play with Bedard.
They don't have a top 6 forward, dude.
No.
Like they have Seth Jones and Connor Bedard. That is it. That was maybe the worst place for him to go, because there's like quite literally no help. You go to Columbus and fine, you can play with Goudreau or Laine or maybe both or whatever, right? You go to Anaheim, you've got some Zegras, you've got some, like there's literally nobody.
It would have been fun to watch Zegras and Bedard play together.
We learned as Oilers fans when we had Eberle, and right, like they tried to bring in Ferentz and Strudwick and guys that could, help teach these new young players. Well, it turns out that Hall was an asshole and wouldn't listen to anybody anyways, but there's nobody who's going to be there to teach Bedard anything. And like, you're going to burn off the first 3 years of his contract before you get anything out of him in that. I don't know. I just like,
it remains to be seen.
Chicago just
right.
I don't care where he went. I don't think he deserves to go anywhere, but Chicago didn't deserve him.
Yeah. No, that much I agree 100%. And I mean, the thing that I think is it's so hard to say, having watched Bedard live and then watched some games, the Pats games when available. He's a different talent than McDavid is. Will he be as independent as McDavid in terms of, like, I think McDavid would have been McDavid no matter where he went. He could have been.
Yeah, I mean, McDavid's fast. His straight line speed and his lateral speed and his edge work is unmatched. Connor Bedard is quick. He's not necessarily fast. He's quick and shifty and can protect the puck really well in doing so. He's excellent at disguising his moves. He can shoot top corner while looking in the absolute opposite direction. But there's going to be some adjustments. Like, he toe drags the piss out of people in the WHL all the time.
And he won't get away with that.
You're not getting away with that in the NHL. And so I don't know. I don't know if he's a generational talent. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. I'm sure he's going to be a 100-point player someday, and I'll be excited to see it. If the league was rigged, he'd be in Arizona right
now. That's the truth, right? So anyway, I just hate that commentary, but happy to see him get into the league. I'm excited to see another player, of top quality, another Canadian for when the NHL gets its shit together and we see a best on best tournament. Would love to see him. I mean, we're gonna need some good players to go against Draisaitl and and the Germans, right? The German Gretzky, as they say. All right. As is always the case, I'll give you the last word tonight. When you're done, say goodnight. Thanks again for your 46th episode with Oilers Live. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'll see you next Tuesday, if not sooner. Everybody have a great night. You're up, Dash.
Number 46 tonight. I will look forward to number 50 in a month, or maybe shortly less if we squeeze a few more in right for the finals. You can schedule me right now. Last word. You know what? I see some stranger asking for an encore and wanting us to stay on, and as as honorable as that is, we gave you the Connor Bedard encore, and then this is it for a last word. And I'm going to steal it a little bit, but I heard somebody speak earlier today about what was going on with the Oilers and how they felt that the first round was going. And this is somebody that knows a lot about our organization, and I mean a lot about our organization. And what he said really stuck with me, and it's been bouncing around in my head all day. So I feel like I want to share it because hopefully it'll leave an impression with you like it did with me. This guy, we've all loved him, or maybe we've hated him, but we all know him as Mac T. And he was on a podcast today, and Craig McTavish said a few things that stuck with me. And first things first, he kept saying we. So, you know what? Mac T, love you, buddy. Once an Oiler, always an Oiler. That stuck with me. The other thing he said is that he feels in all his heart of hearts that the Oilers are ready to win a Stanley Cup. This team right now, as it is ready and composed and can win a Stanley Cup. That's somebody that knows what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. That's somebody that knows how to coach a team into being mentally prepared to win a Stanley Cup. And Craig McTavish feels that this team is ready to win a cup now and is mentally prepared to win a cup now. They're not necessarily showing it, was my thought in my head, because they're going to need some discipline, but we're still right where we want to be. We're very likely, knock on wood, we win this game. We follow what Dallas is doing. We keep the curse alive with Dallas. We win game 4 and we get a split in Vegas. We get a split at home. And you know what? That's just fine. The thing that McTavish said that maybe stuck with me the most was he said that he would rather, when he was coaching in the playoffs, that his team got a shit kicking 6-1 instead of losing 3-2 in overtime. And when he first came out of his mouth, I thought, well, that's asinine. It makes a ton of sense after he explained it. All those players, they go home and they put their heads on their pillow at home or in their hotel rooms. And if they won 3-2, they think to themselves, just a little bit more effort tomorrow or next game, and we can win this. Just a little bit more effort. You win 5-1, you go back to your hotel room pissed off, embarrassed, and you start realizing you need to really ratchet this shit up. And it was clear that the Vegas Knights went home after game two embarrassed and put their heads on their pillows and went, we better ratchet this the hell up. And Edmonton had 9 straight days on the road, came home to seeing his baby and Skinner seeing his baby and all these things happening when you get back home after being gone for 2 weeks. How many people have gone for 2 weeks of a holiday, not that this was a holiday, and come home after 2 weeks? I use that as an example because it's the only relative thing we can probably relate to. If you can work and you're on the road for 2 weeks at work, then you probably can relate. When you come home, it's such a relief. You take a deep breath. You just want to lay on the couch and like get more comfortable in your surroundings. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what happened in game 3. The Oilers went and celebrated a little bit in Vegas that they, thought they had this series wrapped up after game 2. They had 9 days on the road. Let's, blow off some steam and get home to our families. And the Knights went home embarrassed, and they came back and showed us. So what happened in game 2 completely flipped the other way, and the Knights had the power and the Oilers lost it. So I'm going to kind of agree with Mac T and say that's a good thing. And that the Oilers hopefully went and put their heads on their pillows after that game and realized that they're going to need to really ratchet it up, really find some discipline. And like I've said on my last word many times here, let's get to work. And I think they know they need to get to work for game 4 as well. So expect a win in game 4, and you heard it here first. Good night, everybody.
Live.